And welcome to the Perdie channel. That's Paul's face. He's with us again
Yes, I am. Again.
to entertain us, have a good time, to talk, all that fun stuff. How you been?
Good.
Yeah?
Excellent. Yes.
What's new?
Nothing really. I had surgery, but I'm recovered, and now I just wanted to recover so I could come back here. That's what I told the doctor. I said, look, if anything goes wrong, I'm really scheduled to do this with Matthew. So you got to make this work.
That's right,
Yeah.
and it's paramount importance, more important than your health or
Right.
for your family, your friends.
Yep.
Way
Yep.
more important.
I just wanted to come here again and do this and be with your dog Cosgrove.
Yes, who's hanging in the corner right there. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to see him,
Yeah.
but you can see his butt a little bit in the frame. But yeah.
Yeah.
So everything went well at the surgery.
Everything went well. It was robotically assisted, which means they cut you open, they roll a robot over, and then a surgeon comes in, doesn't even face you. He's just in the corner, and he does stuff. I don't know. I was out, but I also asked them. I was like, so in the prep room, I go, do you have a name for your robot? Just trying to make small talk, and they're like, no. And I was like, oh. Okay. And then someone's like, well, I guess one guy calls it Pearl. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. And because I would have liked to hear, we call it Phil and we love it. And they were like, it was like no one had ever asked that question.
Yeah. Okay, this reminds me of a story at the chapel. The same kind of situation where you try to like relate a little bit and it just completely falls off. Great guy, great family. But, often when I'm sitting in church, I thought maybe this is a guy thing where I'm just sitting there and my mind wanders naturally, right? Because you see the same thing going on at the Mass, and it goes, okay, so if a shooter comes in here, what's my first move? Like, am I going to, if he comes from this doorway, this exit, I'm going to go over here, hide behind that, and pull out my gun, and then aim there. And I'm thinking of, like, every enter-exit strategy. It's just, like, I'm like, this, I guess, is, like, a natural thing. And so, like, I turned to this gentleman. He has a big family. It's fantastic. And I was like, don't you think about things like that? And he just turns to me. He's like, no. And I'm like, I was like, am I the only one?
No, you're not. I have also looked and gone, okay, how many people would I have to crawl over to get the heck out of here?
See, I questioned myself big time when that happened.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Ugh. So, speaking of that, you are Catholic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you become Catholic?
Always I was baptized in 1960, I believe. I guess they still, And I went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic college. It was Catholic the whole way through. But again, a lot of it was like the high school specifically was very. It was during the 70s, and it was clown masses and all kinds of things. And I'm glad I made it through.
So your high school was impacted by the Vatican II clown show.
It was in Las Vegas, which is also weird. I went to school with like Jimmy the Schnutz, all these mafia kids. But it was a great school, and we loved it. But it was very progressive, and because frankly, what kind of order we'll say we willingly go to Las Vegas? There weren't a lot of them, so it was like, okay, we'll take you people. So, but it was great. It was the Viatorian Fathers, and they were great. But it was very, it's very loosey. It was very 70s. I mean, it's all there was a lot of sitting on carpeted cubes and talking about our feelings a lot, and I'm not quite sure some of the things we actually ever did were valid. Like I'm pretty sure there are some masses that actually are now in hindsight. I don't think that was cool. So,
what kind of things were you seeing?
Well,
that
you know,
made
like
think
the big went back in the day when they'd give you a big chunk of bread and be like here, and everyone would be like to describe your experience. It was very touchy feely.
Wait, talk about that because I don't know about it because I didn't. I mean, I've become Catholic very recently in the past year. But when you're saying they handed you the bread and asked you to talk about your feelings, how did that work?
It was just very. I mean, it's many years ago now, but it was very not very liturgical. It was touchy feely. It was like you know, Crosby, Stills and Nash. Very it's just we sang a lot of If I Had a Hammer, I'd Hammer in the Morning. We sang Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I mean, all that stuff. It was that time where it was all very like, wow, this is wonderful. And very lovely people, but it was a totally kind of misguided effort. It was a weird time, but now luckily things have settled down. But I saw some things. that were horrifying. Yeah.
Well, I want to know more about those things that you saw that are horrifying.
Well, you know, like clown masses, literally.
Like actual clowns.
Like actual, like, you know, the priest would wear a clown nose and, you know.
What?
Yeah, you know, because
that's real.
Well, it is real, but again, you have to take that in context, right? This was like, hey, this is cool, right? And you know, it's like bishops at that time weren't going, hey, you know what, knock it off. It would be like, oh, this is great. So it's like it was the rubber band broke, and everybody did what they thought was right.
It sounds like an Animaniacs episode.
It really was. I mean, I think it was. And then I had a sister who went totally the other way. She was very traditional, and so it was like somewhere between that. I sort of crawled over to with great, you know, churches that we've been involved with. But yeah, at least the 70s are over, and anyone that says, gosh, I wish the 70s were here again, I'm here to tell you it wasn't. Don't do that. It wasn't great. So
yeah, you know, it's actually kind of interesting to say that because there was a time, particularly in the 90s and like early 2000s,
wouldn't that be great?
It was glorified. Yeah, right?
No. And you know, just from I remember one of our teachers once. It was like it was in high school. It was like, okay, everyone, we'd have an assembly of mass. It was like, and it didn't happen all the time. It was maybe once every 2 weeks. And one of the teachers there was like, I can't believe we're letting you out for this silly ceremony at a Catholic school. And I was like, wow. And even then, I was young enough to go, I don't think that's right. I don't think you should be making fun of the faith here in a Catholic school.
How old were you?
I was like 16. I kind of talk like that, actually. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love the faith and, you know, raised my daughter in the faith along with my wife, and my daughter had a Latin mass wedding.
Wow,
which was pretty cool.
That's so cool to see.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's so we're pretty much like the Latin mass. If it's not available, we're happy to go to a regular mass. But just having spent 20 years singing, you know, Table of Plenty, I don't need to hear it again. So I'd rather hear some Gregorian chant.
Yeah. So you'll take the Boomer Ordo.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, you know, I love both. I love everyone. Everyone's wonderful. But if I had especially at this stage of my life, I like the ritual, the majesty, the spirituality of it.
So let me ask you, there's a lot of Catholics who go through, I mean, or even Christians, you can say they kind of grow up that way. They grow up Christian, Catholic, and, you know, a lot of people talk about a time where they kind of rebelled a little bit against their beliefs in some respect. Do you feel like you had that at all?
No. Oh, I never did. I mean, when I was going to a Catholic college, Loyola, I didn't always go to Mass, and we were like right next door to the chapel. And I'd be like, that's okay. But yeah, no, I never really rebelled, which is, which is great. I've always, pretty much, we've always tried to, yeah, to live the faith and do it. And, but no, I don't think I ever did.
That's
Ever did.
fascinating.
If anything, I become more like, oh, I don't think that was right, what we were all doing back then.
Right.
And, kind of like maybe going more towards the traditional, yes. Yeah, so becoming even more, I think, traditional and seeing a lot of what was lost. Like I said, we had nothing but guitars and tambourines, and and a lot of liturgical dancing and just a lot of bizarre stuff. And slowly but surely now, to see, especially in the traditional mass, to hear chant, to see the priest facing ad orientem and all, it kind of flips it and makes you go, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And there was
Yeah.
a lot. Plus, I think the formation, especially in the 70s, we got a lot of social justice, and we didn't. I didn't really know anything about the faith because that wasn't important. I mean, I did when I was little.
Yeah.
That was hammered in. But then in high school, it was more like, it was a lot of wordplay. Imagine you're walking through a forest and you see a dog and he needs care. What would you do? You know what I mean?
Wow.
And now imagine that dog is a man, as a hobo we'll call him. And it was like, okay. So it was very, it was very Franciscan. That's all I can say.
Well, it sounds like
Yeah.
you're a typical Baptist hipster bro
Yeah.
pastor situation, right?
Yeah. So, but we had some great priests and some great nuns. But yeah, it was like I said, and a lot of my generation, they didn't stick with it because I don't think it was great formation.
So you think that because the liturgy was watered down, that when they took out the Latin Mass and everything, people took it less seriously from what your peers speaking was.
Yeah, I mean, so my wife is Cuban, and she's a refugee, but she remembers when Vatican II was instituted in Cuba properly. And because her mother would always talk about how wonderful it was, and her aunt's a Salesian, and they have a totally different experience of Vatican II than the American Church. Very reverent, very. So I think it's all about how it was rolled out and what kind of diocese was rolled out in. So because to hear them tell it was wonderful, it was great. So and I'm sure it was, but just now having gone through all that, I would prefer to be going to the traditional mass. And yeah, and like I said, I've had decades of singing Table of Plenty, and all are welcome, and I'm okay not doing that anymore.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of your wife, how did you end up meeting her?
We met at a party. It was a murder mystery party. It was like the dumb. Back in the 80s, I think there was. Do you ever hear of a murder mystery party?
Yeah, I mean, not the parties, but I've done.
Anyway,
those,
yeah, and someone puts it on, and they send you're going to be the captain, and you're like, I just whatever. So everybody shows up, I think, reluctantly, knowing that there's going to be drinking, and
just another excuse to drink.
Yeah. And my wife showed up as with her sister and as a maid. And
she wasn't the murderer, was she?
No, she wasn't the murderer.
Okay,
she wasn't even written in. This was sort of like her sister brought her to sort of just be a part of this. And,
Okay.
But anyway, I think like 3 hours in, we're all like, can we just stop?
Yeah.
Can we just stop? And because I'd like to take the beard off. I'd like to, and that's how we met and stuff. So yeah,
That's cool.
and she's a refugee from Cuba, so her family came over, or her mom came over in '71. One of the last flights out.
Wow.
She still has that. We were looking at the other day. She still has the deck of cards from National Airlines that they gave everyone. It was through the Swiss embassy. So,
That's wild.
Yeah, and she tells horror stories about waiting at the airport because they wouldn't tell you the day you're going. They would just knock on your door the day before and say you're leaving tomorrow, and you had to leave all photographs, all jewelry. only the shirt on your back or the
Wow.
clothes. And I guess some women would in their hair hide like, wedding rings and stuff, and they'd get caught and they'd get pulled out of the line and
my
wouldn't get to go on the
gosh.
plane. And so Maria remembers all that, and she's like, this is kind of what it was like, people. So be careful.
Yeah, so I got to ask a little bit more about that,
Yeah.
because that's fascinating to me. A lot of people are not aware of what it's like to live in a communist regime, but I
Yeah.
guess she had that experience a little bit.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are some of the things that stood out to you that she's told you?
Well, just the food deprivation. She remembers. Well, first of all, everything was rationed. So you get a ration thing, and you'd show up at the Soviet at the Cuban-run bakery, and there would be one loaf of bread, and that would be gone or whatever. So there was a lot of black market trading of people just doing their own thing.
Wow.
She remembers that what there was a lot of was a Russian canned strawberries. And she's still convinced it's led to some severe physical issues she has today. But it was not good. She had an uncle, or most of her family was jailed at one point.
For what?
Just not being all on board with the whole regime, and they would take kids away from their families during Christmas and have them work in the fields.
Oh my gosh.
And not a great thing. And she had one uncle who was in prison for a while, finally got out. I think it was in the 90s, and one was executed. And while Batista, the regime before, probably wasn't any great shakes, this was definitely not. And every now and then there's videos of people that go and they'll film the areas. And she lived in Havana, and she just can't believe the decay. They might have universal health care, but I don't know what else they have. It's not great.
I can't imagine that the universal health care is very good.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is we were thinking of going because she's like, I really want you to see it. And we were sort of researching it. And that was around the time where Obama sort of loosened the ways to get in.
Yeah.
And then but you had to use a specific tourist company by the government of Cuba. And part of that was they would take you to the various revolutionary places and talk about it. And Marie's like, I don't,
No, they're romanticizing it.
Yeah, I don't need to do any of that. So we haven't gone. But one day, but she said it was like a paradise. She loved it.
Like a paradise. How old was she?
When she left, I think 10.
Yeah, so it was like a paradise, I guess, with the weather, but when you're living under communism, it's just...
not great. But I mean, just the weather and stuff. But
Yeah.
A really tough life.
And you're talking about rations and whatnot. I mean, how do you? And I guess you're saying she had some sort of nutritional deficiency because she was just that's all she had.
There was nothing. There was milk sometimes, meat every now and then. I mean, that's what happens with a state-run market.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. And so anyone that goes, oh, hey, great, state-run markets, it's just, just talk to a Cuban or talk to someone that lived through the Soviet Union or talk to someone from Eastern Europe or something about how great that all went, because it wasn't great.
Wow. And so now let's roll back a little bit and go to your conservative beliefs.
Yeah.
When did you become conservative?
I don't think there's a time, because I don't think it was called that at one time. It was just people believing what people believed.
Yeah.
And so I can't say there's a time where I'm like, I believe these certain. It's just my family, we had all these beliefs, and they were a lot of them obviously tied to the Catholic faith, and actually everything springs from that. So but it's conservative it's just people living their lives and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that's really all it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, general beliefs, you want less taxes and things like
and
that.
I remember working for with a buddy in high school. We worked for the Ford campaign for no other reason that just seemed like a fun thing to do. And I remember we were remember one day we were making posters because it was like that's what volunteers do, and my stupid poster said Ford is full of gas because I thought it was like a car or whatever, and they were like, "Well, we don't really like that idea." I was like, "Okay, fine." But other than that, conservative is it says liberal, conservative. I think I was just middle of the road, which is what most of my and here's the other thing. I don't remember ever anyone talking about these two sides until really the late 80s. I don't remember it being a thing. I don't remember hey, what are you? I don't remember that as a question. I don't remember that as now. I'm sure there were people that were really into it, but in my sphere, we never talked about it.
So there was no real contention over political beliefs that you at least experienced or saw.
No. I mean, obviously there were, when the presidential race would come around, and I remember when Carter was elected, I think my dad went in a room and didn't come out for a while, but and I was like, well, come on, Dad. Yeah, it's fine. But generally, I don't remember the preoccupation with it that we all have now. The way I liken it is everyone is taking their politics like a sports team. Like there's the Dodgers, and then they're the other team, and you know no matter what you never. And I just think it's I don't know what caused it. I don't know where it came from, but we're not even on the same planet. I don't think.
You're right, and I think so. It's important to take into account that no party truly reflects its constituency well at all.
Right.
And there's been a lot of efforts, particularly on the left, to make them more extreme. And I think the right, when you look at the Republican Party, we've become more hardcore, more conservative, more hardcore about it, because I think we've just went for such a long time. We're still going a long time without having our values being reflected in Republicans. Things like genuinely less spending, less taxes. You're spending like the amount of taxation that we have for just normal daily life. You're basically giving up half your paycheck between state, local, federal, and like the 17 ways you get taxed for every transaction. So, I just feel like Republicans or conservatives have just gone so long without getting what they wanted. They're just getting more and more frustrated, and I think that's how Trump came along, right?
Yeah.
But I think the when it comes down to the left, I just think that forces in the Democrat Party, but also forces beyond the Democrat Party, were looking to make their base more extreme for political power.
Yeah, I think that's true. Although I have to say that. Coming from Hollywood, I would say 98% of my friends were incredibly liberal, and they knew that I was just not. And it didn't. And there was a time where that didn't matter. It was where it really didn't matter. And in fact, to this day, Marie and I still have two very good friends that are just, probably the 180 degrees about everything that we are. But we get along and we laugh and it reminds me of how my parents were and how people used to be. It was like, really? Okay, I don't know, but hey, do you want more spaghetti? And it was like the world doesn't hang in the balance.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, where we've come. But it used to be, honestly, it was like, okay, no, I'm not. Hey, you guys want to go get in the pool? Because Sally's made some burgers, and we went, and it was like, it didn't frame everyone's point of view, and that's different now, obviously. But I think that it's different from the progressive or incredibly liberal group, because honestly, it was like, if there's a movie made by someone that's a crazy liberal, if it's good, I would love to go see it.
Yeah, if it's good.
And so it doesn't it doesn't color my view, and especially working in Hollywood for 30, 40 years. I think, it's like you have to just be accepting and tolerant, and because no one reflects your views.
Yeah.
So you just kind of go through life and go, hey, how you doing? Great. Yeah, whatever. I mean, you can't, especially conservative in Hollywood, you can't let anything bother you.
Yeah.
Because you just have to exist and go home. So I think it changed. It changed big time.
I think that's where it comes to respecting the intent, right? Mm-hmm. Is I think that if the other side or other person, genuinely has good intentions, does not want to hurt, does not realize the consequences of like a policy is actually going to be terrible, I think it's good you can still be friends with them, you can respect the intention of it, but I think lately, as you've noted, we have gotten to a point where it's gotten so contentious where you've got about half of Democrats are, with the polls, and at least the polls say that somewhere around half Democrat voters they're okay with the idea of Trump being assassinated, like kind of crazy stuff like that.
Right. And yeah, I agree. I don't know where that comes from, and it could very well be that some of my friends think the same thing. Hopefully, I'll never know that. I think that we know a little bit too much about each other now, especially like I don't follow any of my friends on social media anymore because I don't want to know. I'd rather because remember days when we didn't know what anyone's internal monologue
didn't
was?
Matter.
And I think I would love to go back to that, where I don't really know your true deepest desires, because I don't know that we were ever meant to. Like, I don't know that I'm supposed to know all the, like, your thoughts at 2 a.m. I'm not quite sure that rant you did on Facebook or whatever is for me to know. Like,
yeah, and it's an interesting thing to look at because, I think part of us not paying as much attention to what's going on has led to certain problems, while at the same time you would think that maybe there's got to be a way for us to not get too personal or vilify each other so much while still not being apathetic about what's going on.
No,
right?
Agreed. But I think that it's the way you take care of that. You go vote and you stay active. But I just think it's polarized on both sides. I'll just say. And I think humanity, or the Americans, we need a big timeout, and everyone needs to just, I don't know whether it's a beer. Remember when Biden was like, well, just go have a beer. I mean, maybe everyone just needs a beer. But yeah, they're just certain, I just think that this obsession with everyone's politics, which really is the sort of the stock and trade of Hollywood. It's like now it's become that. But when I was working there, up until 10 years ago, yes, you'd hear the comment about Bush is a dictator, and you'd hear that at lunch, and you'd go, really, the guy that just got voted out, who's not in office anymore, that was the dictator, and it was just, but it was, and that's kind of how it is, but no one held anyone to anything. It was just like, that's what you believe. And I really long for those days. I mean, while still being aware of I'm going to vote who I'm going to vote for, but I don't hate you for not agreeing with me.
So, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit because, so I've actually been on both sides. I grew up somewhat naturally left-leaning. I mean, we talk politics a little bit growing up, but not much. And without like a clean slate and just being affected by what you're seeing in the media and whatnot, I ended up being slightly liberal after a lot of talks with my father and some looking at Adam Smith, a lot of other things. I quickly became conservative once I really put more effort into understand what was going on. But that being said, I've been on both sides of it in a way, but it's sometimes it doesn't matter how kind you are. It's just the simple fact that you are conservative, that you're a Trump supporter, and that is enough for someone to go full nuclear on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've experienced to some extent, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, although I was very lucky. I think that most everywhere I worked, everyone knew I was Catholic, and everyone was, very. I think of truly, like, from at Warner Brothers, myself and another guy were probably the only people that attended church regularly, and so we were treated more like, oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
How cute. It was like very, very, very quaint, and no matter where I went, people would sort of know that. I mean, so I was always treated, I think, very, very well, but. Recently, I just did an experiment. It was, I hardly ever post anything. I really don't. I always keep it very neutral because, frankly, I don't. It's not that I'm scared or anything. It's not my wheelhouse. I am not that guy. Nor do I ever. No, I just don't want to be. I just want to do my funny things and call it a day. But as this particular election was sort of winding down, I was like looking at the alternative. I was like, and I was excited about Trump, not as much as Elon and J.D. Vance, and Bobby Kennedy Jr. I'm like, come on, this is great.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to me, and I said, it just was a little X post. I look forward to, Donald Trump's team, and it was the most innocuous thing. And I went from, I think, 22,000 followers to 14,000 in about 48 hours.
Wow.
And one person was, and comment after comment was, how can you, what have you done, what, I used to like Freakazoid, surely this is a joke. And I was like, and then my reaction was, oh my gosh, I got to take that post down. What was I thinking? How dare I form an opinion? And then I just sort of thought about it. I go, well, you said it. You're going to leave it up there. And my followers continue to go down. But it's like, no, I mean, not that I think Trump is the most amazing person ever. He was better than the alternative. I was a Marco Rubio guy. I was a Ben Carson guy. I thought, here's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm simple and. But it's that's so if you imagine Hollywood now as that sort of dynamic, that's why everyone's like, anyone that is not just conservative, but follows, or Catholic or whatever, they pretty much, they keep their heads down and they walk through and they get the job done. And there are a lot of those. Yeah. But they don't, it's like, they don't want to, because Hollywood has become a very, not that I ever experienced it, that I know, but no one ever was like, hey, get out of here with your rosary, no one was ever that way. On the
Keep your rosaries off our film reels.
On the contrary, I was working with a group, comedy group, with a company, and we were about to play. We were about to go to Australia to do this improv show, and one of the president of the company that this was for. Realized, he came up to me, goes, I just realized something. He goes, you're going to be performing on Good Friday. Is that a problem? And I go, oh my gosh, it's a problem. Yeah. He goes, well, no worries. We'll switch you out. And it was like, and this is one of the most liberal places I can possibly tell you, one of the most liberal people. So it's like, I got that a lot. I was like, everyone was very accommodating.
That's sweet,
and nice. So I don't have horror stories like that. And, but other people haven't been so lucky, and it's mostly online. It's mostly online. Where how dare you and stuff.
Yeah, people have a little bit more courage when they don't have to look at you straight in the face.
Yes, there's this video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's two dogs that are on the same side of the fence, and they're friends.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And then they go. One goes on the other side of the fence, and they're rah, 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 rah. And that reminds me of social media. That's to me the way it is, which is why I've really weaned on it, and you know, because I think there was a time where I was doom scrolling constantly, just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I can't believe it. And I was like, you know, this is not I can't, I'm one, you know, so yeah, I think that the way I think about Hollywood is it's a big high school, and it's got the mentality of high school, and everyone wants to be loved, and a lot of the people say what they say because they just want to be loved and they want to fit in. And if once you understand that dynamic, then you kind of understand the rules and stuff. But it is, for whatever reason, it is a very liberal, you know, liberal place. But like I said, I have very good friends there, so I don't want to disparage them or anything, and they know my beliefs. So, but yeah, it's not. I think it's changing though. It's now definitely we're picking sides, and we're, you know.
Well, you know, that's interesting to talk about because the Democrat, generally, the leftist side is, at least the Democrat Party is very tribalistic in the sense where you pretty much have to line up wherever it is that they've moved to at that time, and if you don't, then you're a liability. And it sounds like that you're saying Hollywood was like that, is like that now,
Yeah.
or so, but perhaps a little friendlier.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, I still have people that my gosh, I worked for, you know, some of the most liberal, DreamWorks and Disney, believe it or not. Disney's is a very crazy place with some great people in it. DreamWorks, crazy, great people in it. Warner Brothers, really crazy, but some great people in it. But I think that if you're good at what you do, they're like, fine, whatever, you can go. You're a nut. I need that scripted for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was much more. I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't know when it became a thing where everyone was just.
Well, it's interesting the thing that you mentioned. It's like you were so good. Perhaps your level of skill was so great that it's like, well, I can't really risk having someone's terrible at this. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, I would always get my work done and work hard and you know, sometimes have very interesting conversations with people about you know hot topic issues or whatever. Like my wife, when we lived in California, she was a sidewalk counselor she would be in front of an abortion clinic with a bunch of other women from sidewalk counseling, and they had a very interesting technique of just being very gentle and you know, still trying to advocate, and some people would go in and some people wouldn't, and so I would go with a bunch of other men, and we'd just go across the street and we'd just do the rosary. We would just do the rosary, and then my wife and I were on the board of a pregnancy counseling center. We got them a ultrasound, mobile ultrasound. We would do that. So that was always very, you know. And so when in meetings like at DreamWorks, someone would say, you know, abortion, whatever, it's a right, and I would just be like, oh, you know, I don't really believe that. I don't think that's true. And a lot of times to be like, oh, interesting. Never heard that before. You know, it's like it was a very interesting dynamic.
Well, because it seems like they weren't used to someone saying it.
No. Because they're in Hollywood, or especially, there is no wait. What?
Right.
You think that's wrong? What's wrong with you? And because they've never been confronted with it.
It's more business.
Yeah. And I remember, so it's, I don't know, 20 guys who always were supporting, you know, doing the rosary and you know, the abuse you'd get with the cars driving by. And this is in Ventura, California, like Surf City, USA. Like, everybody's lovely, but, you know, some cars would drive by and just yell things. And it occurred to me, it's like, those are probably everybody I work with.
Wow.
Like, that's I'm pretty sure that's everybody that I've been friendly with in a meeting or something that just don't know. You know, it's like, who are those nuts out there? Why are they hurting? You know, and so abortion to me has always been that sort of that topic for me that is
Yeah.
like, that is really more than conservative, more than anything. It's like, it's the abortion issue, and which I think is a gateway drug to larger progressive ideas and stuff.
Well,
And,
yeah, I guess if you're okay with killing a baby, then
Yeah, but-
everything else opens up.
yeah, but again, I think that it's starting a conversation that some people have never literally ever had about, oh, why do you think that's bad?
Yeah.
Is it a clump of cells? Well, have you ever heard of an ultrasound? It's like there's so much misinformation on the other
You're right.
side.
Yeah.
They have no clue.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there is a sense of innocence to it, I think, in a lot of cases. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people it's just that if they're in that bubble,
yeah.
right, they're not exposed to any counter argument,
Right.
at all to any
Right.
extent.
So there, and there were, my wife would be, see women going in and just be like, hey, do you know this? And do you know that? And ultimately, if the woman goes in, just, what are you going to do? And then pray for that woman, pray for healing and all that stuff. Never angry or anything. Just like,
Yeah.
well, you're just trying to help. And, but how much disinformation there is on the others about how women don't know everything. It is a clump of cells. It is whatever. It is that. And why Planned Parenthood fights ultrasounds.
Yeah.
It won't give ultrasounds.
Well, there's a reason for that,
Yeah.
right? You think it's what's the harm in doing an
Right.
ultrasound, but it's
Right.
the information you get from it, right?
So that being in that sort of environment did open my eyes to a lot of things. But it occurred to me there was not a lot of times I could go into a meeting at a Hollywood studio and say, oh, sorry, I'm late. I was saying the rosary in front of an abortion clinic.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which I rarely ever said, but this is where I was.
So why is abortion the make or break for you? Why is it so important over any other issue?
Well, I think it's life. It's a fundamental, not only just a religious issue, but it's, if you look at it in its totality, it's taking a life, and I think that it's been pushed. It's been pushed as as something. Don't even worry about it. It's not a thing. Why are we even worried about it? It's not a thing, and that is just so totally wrong. And I just think that there needs to be more. I'd love there to be a national conversation about it. Like literally, let's have a conversation about what it is, using the proper words and stuff. And if everyone says like, even knowing that, we're still going to go ahead with it, but you're like, well, what are you going to do? But I think that's a conversation that a lot of people haven't confronted.
And that's interesting you say that because, while we have, it's been the center of the narrative at times when I think particularly when the leftist media sees it as something that is useful for them to get more votes, right? But I think you're right that we haven't really gotten to the real depth of it. We had the conversation hasn't gone to where it needs to go.
Right. Yeah. No, the conversation definitely needs to be about, okay, let's talk about what it is. Let's not use both sides are not allowed to use euphemisms. We're not allowed to say healthcare. We're not allowed, and and on the other side, you have to be careful with. I think you have to meet in the middle somewhere. I think you have to begin a conversation about it.
Well, it's going to be based on who you're talking to, right?
Right. True.
Yeah.
But I think that it's for me, it's one of the biggest issues, and again, there's a lot of hurt and healing of so many women that have been, sold this as an option and then grow to resent it. And so for me, that's the big global one for me. Always has been, and my wife, like I said, was always out there trying and, to help and just educate. And so, yeah.
And that's a really emotional thing to go through too.
Yeah.
Like, that the toll that takes on you.
Yeah.
Even like, whether you end up convincing someone not to walk into Planned Parenthood or not, right? There's just so much emotional depth
Yeah,
and
there
so
is.
much exhaustion to
There
that.
is.
I mean,
And-
how did
yeah.
she handle that?
It was rough, you know. It was like those were very difficult days. But luckily, it was a group of women that had been doing this for a while, and then and then again too, some people don't know how to do it and end up not helping, but just being very shaming, and that doesn't work either, right? You just have to say, I'm here if you want to talk, if you want to have a conversation, and that's always what they did. But we were also. I was on the board of a maternity home, of all things. You
Nice.
never hear about maternity homes anymore.
Freakazoid was on
Yeah,
the
on
board,
the board
of
of
a
maternity.
maternity
Yeah,
home.
yeah. And it was a house that had 4 bedrooms, run by a great group of women, and and that's where someone would go to but because family was an issue, or a former spouse was an issue, or and I loved that place. It was called Angels Way Maternity Home.
Where is this?
It's in Canoga Park.
Wow.
And yeah, so check out Angels Way Maternity Home.
There's so much I want to ask you about. I guess one thing to go to is your supporters. What were when you tweeted support for Trump? And this is a very interesting picture.
Yeah.
In respect to our conversation, because we're talking about how a lot of the left has become small tent, right?
Right.
They're you've got to be within these very thin parameters, or you're evil, you're
Right.
outcasts. Like, stay away.
Right.
You're not part of us. While the Republican Party has become kind of more big tent, it has become more conservative focused as compared to like 15 years ago. But we let a little bit more people in, and it seems to be like there's a lot more respect. There's not like you're not completely out of the club for it. But when you tweeted your
Right.
support for Trump, and because he has a big tent group of people
Right,
around him,
right.
and you lost, almost 10,000 followers or whatever. What were some of the things that your followers or people on, who are following you on social media, what were they saying to you?
I think a lot of it was how could you? I can't believe the Freakazoid is a Trump lover, or you realize he's a horrible man, right? And it was like, and I didn't anticipate that. I just thought it was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? I thought it was, this 20 years ago, where everyone would be like, who are you going for? I'm going for this. I'm going for that. I'm going for this. And it turns out that's not where we are. But a lot of people, I think, were like, felt betrayal, or but again, it was like, I was just excited about Bobby Kennedy, and he was like, wow, look at that, and Elon Musk and J.D. Vance, and yes, Donald Trump, to get in there and kind of do some of the things he was talking about. But I don't know if that's any different from anyone else saying, Kamala Harris is wonderful, I'm voting for her because I vote for that. And I was like, and I guarantee I would never, if I saw that, and go, I'm out of there. I just wouldn't, because it's like, I don't care. Like, great, do what you want to do. But it's so fraught with, you're just, I guess it just represents so many people a betrayal of, he's a bad man, he's a bad man, he's a bad man, he's a bad man. But see, I have to remember, like 30 years ago, Bush was a bad man, and then Bush too, he was Hitler, and I've heard, they've all been bad. Anyone on the right was Hitler or a Nazi.
Well, they're always tactically targeted as the most extreme, harmful thing for political power reasons, right?
Right. So, but I was like, you know what? It just doesn't matter, and I might as well just. Now, would I do it again in hindsight? Yeah, probably, because I'm like, you can't live in the shadows always. But at the same time, you can't be out there blah, 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 all the time either. Just once.
That's all it took.
And that's all it took. And I was like, okay, fine. Do I love everything about the administration? No. But do I think this is kind of better than the alternative? Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Do I ever?
Well, it's very fascinating, because you take someone like Bob Kennedy, RFK, right? Mm-hmm. RFK Jr., and he was, he was pretty far left-leaning, 16, 17 years ago. Yep. But now when it comes to food safety, right? That is something, it should not even be political.
No.
Like, we do not want to be poisoning our food. This is ridiculous.
Right.
I think, and this is one thing I've been pushing Republicans on for a long time, is like, dude, you've got to get on the food, like the food not being poison beat, because
Right.
like the amount of money that we could be saving, in which, by the way, I'm totally against Social Security and Medicare. They should never have existed in the first place, but now that we have them, we're in this position where we want to be as healthy as possible so that people don't have these insane health conditions when they get older,
Yeah.
right? And
No,
then
true.
everyone else becomes liable for it.
Right.
But, it's just, it takes someone like RFK, and he was, he's pretty left-leaning still.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
happens to be this area where, it's actually very beneficial for both sides and the country to be talking about getting this, a lot of these dyes out of our foods and processed crap.
Yeah, that's why I think, look, a president as good as the leadership team, he sort of said, like, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, and I'm going to go over there and just say what I want. And, and I got to say, I loved Elon. I'm a huge space fan. I love all that stuff. I was kind of sad when they broke up because I was like, but
Sad
I'm
moment.
like, well, what are you gonna do? But still a huge fan of space. I mean, I've always been a space nerd and stuff. So I was like, I have to go with one of the parents now.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to
after
do.
the divorce. But yeah. So, but I guess I'm more of this guy where it's I think we're all a little too nuts right now, and let's all have a conversation, and can we just, not naively, can we all just get along? But I think it would be great if we just had conversations.
Yeah, what if we just spoke instead of resorting to, you're trying to destroy the country,
Yeah,
you're
that'd be
trying,
great.
and I actually, contrary to what people might think about me, I mean, I lost a lot of friends when I became conservative, because it happened, I don't know, my early 20s, and yeah, they were weirded out by it, right? And some of them have come around and been more chill about it, and I appreciate that. I think it's just, so much. I don't even have any. I never had any contention with them. I had contention with the media that lies about a lot of things, and they know it and they don't care, because it's always about power with them, right? And I have my issues stems with the people that know what they're doing is hurting the country, hurting people, and in doing it intentionally, more so than people who, just genuinely don't know any better, because, they're not paying attention to politics 24/7 like maybe you and I do at times, right? So, but, talking again about, your fans or people, your followers on Twitter or X or whatnot, if you had the opportunity to speak directly with them, to anyone that's had issue with your politics, what would you say to them?
That it's don't concern yourself. Like, I want you to vote for who you want to vote for. I would never stop that. I would never stop you from talking. And I'm just going to do the same. And maybe in this crazy time right now, we can all sort of stop being so polarizing, like we used to be. I keep saying this, like not the 60s, never mind, but like the 70s, the 80s, there was nobody, no one would slam the door if you said you were voting for whatever, Dole or Clinton. Nobody was like, whatever. Look, I gotta get gas in the car. Do you mind? Like, it wasn't the end of the world. And I don't know where it all started. And and part of me wants to now just sort of pull back even further and be like, I want to take care of my family. I want to mow the lawn. I want to go to church, and I want to kind of pull back a little bit from the drama, because I think I used to go on Drudge all the time. Be like, what's the headline on Drudge?
That's a problem too, man. You
Yeah.
get too focused on that, and you just
And
the
I'm
whole
like,
mood gets
and
disrupted.
now I'm like, my wife still will be like, do you you want to hear what happened? I'm like, nope, I really, not today. I don't want to happen. So I think there's a level that we all have to do, a little bit of protection, because it can get a little nuts.
Yeah.
One of my friends said, he just, what's the? I was teaching a class and talking about comedy writing, and the kids were like, well, what's the clue? What's the key to writing? And he said, just stop, get off your phones, and wake up and observe the world and start writing comedy. And I think that's true. I think I don't know. I think we like I said at the beginning, I think we know too much about each other, and I don't think we're meant to know the deepest story. I think there's a reason why people can't hear your thoughts in your head. There's a good reason why because that would be insane. But now we are able to do that. We're able to, like, oh, you said that, and so yeah, I think we need to pull back and just not worry about it so much.
So your message would be, hey, why don't we just have a conversation?
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah. Do you want to go see a movie?
Well, and now let's move on to another aspect of our general conservative beliefs and whatnot, because I'm always fascinated with how they inform and how they, there's a plus and minus. There's just an impact in general of politics whenever it comes to creativity, whether it's intended to have an impact or not. And so, like, for example, I think that it's good that you probably weren't thinking about your politics like 24/7 when you're writing for Animaniacs or Freakazoid.
No.
Because, what you're doing is you're thinking about what's funny, what's interesting, what's suspenseful, what's exciting, what's entertaining.
Right.
And so I guess my thing is, sometimes we do have conservatives or people, they realize, oh, this is the age of filmmaking now. And so they think, you know what? We need to get into filmmaking. And they bring their beliefs so deep and so obvious into the creative field that it gets to the point where it's not entertaining anymore.
Yeah, no,
right?
I am totally opposed to, I love neutral storytelling, left or right. There are some people, have you seen that latest great conservative film about, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to that, because number one, I know it's going to be lousy.
Yes.
And number two,
what's
the point? Why?
Yeah.
And the same way, like, I'm sure on the left and stuff, and I don't think that is the goal of entertainment.
You're right.
Entertainment is, let's all, look, you're political. Hey, sit down here, because it's a pretty good movie.
I love how you slip in the voiceover.
Yeah, this is whatever. But no, movies. I was watching. It's the 50th anniversary of Jaws, right? And I remember in 1975, I was 15 years old, and seeing Jaws with my brother-in-law and my sister, and there was a line out the door at the theater, and it was the Red Rock Theaters in Vegas, and it was amazing, right? It was like, and all of us in this room experiencing this movie together. And there's not a political message in that movie to save your life. There's nothing. It's about a shark. It's about a police chief, and it's about, the Matt Hooper, and it's about all these, and it's a wonderful, amazing movie. And that's entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And the moment I heard someone the other day, evidently the Smithsonian just released a Star Wars thing, and about how Star Wars was a reaction to the Watergate. And I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? Star Wars was a wonderful movie about an empire. It got nothing to do with anything. And it was just fresh and neat and new, and no one had ever seen anything like it. So, yeah, whether it's a conservative, like Christian movie about whatever, I'm like, I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole, because I just think they're lousy. They talk to only one person. They're only talking to one side. I mean, frankly, if there was a very progressive movie about it, of the joys of I don't know, doing crack or whatever, I'm not gonna go see it.
It actually sounds kind of entertaining.
Yeah, I guess it does.
I wouldn't like be into it myself, but I'd be like, the mind of a crack addict. Okay,
it might be fun. But my point is that you're not gonna change anybody's mind. No one's gonna go, I saw this great conservative movie, and Margaret and I we're going to give all our money to Trump. I hate it. I hate preachy, and unfortunately, the nuts took over Hollywood, and all the bosses sort of forgot what their job is to go, hey, everybody, knock it off.
Yeah, I
want some good scripts. I want a good movie, and make it funny. And someone forgot that was the job. And it's funny, Superman's coming out now, and I'm just reading all this stuff. It's woke. It's not woke. It's blah, blah, blah. It was like, why are we making Superman again? Is the question.
You're focused on why are we making a 17th Superman movie?
Why? And because there's a movie,
such a good point.
There's a movie coming out that I'm actually really excited about to see. It's called the Hail Mary play. It's about it's the writer of The Martian, which I loved The Martian, and it's about the same sort of space, but it's called it's their only option. It's the Hail Mary option, and I'm like, wow, it sounds good. I've never heard of that before. And I was trying to remember the last time I ever thought about a movie about, wow, that seems like a cool idea. It's like, but everything is just like another Avengers movie or another Disney sequel or whatever. And I want to go. I love going to the movies. Used to love going to the movies. Well, I wonder what it's about. Gosh, that sounds cool. And I don't know that they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing to really look forward to as much anymore. Huh?
And that's because everyone in Hollywood is, number one, horrified about losing their job. No one wants to green light anything because it's like, well, if I green light that and it fails, I'm out of here. So, I just think Hollywood is, oh man, do I want good movies. I want that Jaws experience. I want the Star Wars experience. I want the Close Encounters experience. I want the Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark experience. Network. I never saw Network. I want Network. I want great movies again, and I don't know where they are.
And that's fascinating. You were talking about what the big money in Hollywood is interested in investing in order to make stuff. It seems like they're risk averse, risk averse right now.
So let's make the 17th Superman movie.
So tell us a little bit about how things were behind the scenes with what you noticed would get funded versus what wouldn't.
Well, so I think the 90s was a great time. Obviously, Freakazoid, Animaniacs, and all this. And it was all very like, oh, let's pitch that. Or the SpongeBob. Oh, what's about a guy who was a sponge? But then it became a part of a profit structure. And things begin to change. Like, well, we can't greenlight that until we focus group it. And, focus group is where you make a pilot and you show it to a bunch of kids. And you go, kids, what did you not like? And the kids are like, the color blue. I hated it. All right, we're not gonna have blue in that doggone show. And it really started taking these weird turns. But I think generally it's that that movies became sort of profit centers, and everyone's looking for the big blockbuster, which is why you got a lot of money focused on one franchise. I mean, Marvel, I think did more damage to movies. Not that I don't like some of the Marvel movies. Don't get me wrong. I think like the first Captain America was great, and I love some of them. But if that's all you're putting out, then where's all the other cool stuff? But the people greenlighting these, the people making decisions, they don't want to lose their jobs. There is no Louis B. Mayer. There is no more, Sam Goldwyn. It's not one guy going, I don't know, I like it. Make it for $1 million, all right? Or you're fired.
So you want to bring that guy back?
I do want to bring that guy back. Because I think that we need that guy again to go, I want to go. It's some nut saying, I want a movie with about bunnies and they fly in space. And I think we need that sort of guy or woman, whatever. And I think there is. I pitched something before I moved out of LA. One of the last things I did was I came up with this animated idea for a show, and I got meetings at all the different places, and I pitched it, and it was like, oh man! I pitched it with my friend Matthew, and I was like, oh man, oh wow, we really think that's a terrific idea. The problem is that it's not based on a property. It's not. People don't know what that is, and it would take so much work to sort of.
Just because it's an original idea.
Yeah, it was an original idea, and I was like, and that's basically, if you look at everything being done right now, it's there. It's not. It's based on this, or it's based on a book, or it's this or that. And that's because they can't sell it. They can't do anything with it, and that's kind of how it works. It's
frustrating, but I haven't heard that take before. I mean, we know that there's a lack of originality, but the take that, hey, they're just so risk averse, because they're so focused on the profit and what they know is going to bring in just a bottom line or X amount, that they just don't want to do anything else. And that's and scary. And
they tend to still blow it by, like I heard Superman is like, I read a review of the new one, and it's like, it's fine, it's whatever, but they still blow it by just making some really stupid decisions. And I think that if we had, I think Superman is $400 million. I mean, if you made, I'm not good at math, but $20 million is your max, and you had all those movies you could make and go, I don't know, try this one out. I don't know, how's this one? This is a weird one, or this is a fun one, or I just think it would be so much better. Plus, I don't know about you, but going to the movies, and I don't know about the younger generation, but going to the communal experience of the movie is a really cool thing, especially if it's a comedy or if it's a scary movie.
I love it.
I remember when I saw Indiana Jones, and I was 20, at the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there was a woman sitting behind me, and I went with my buddies, and we didn't know anything about it. What is Indiana Jones, and what is this movie? Oh, this is pretty good. Oh, well, hey, what's gonna happen next? And at the very end, when it's like, don't look, Mary, and the face is melting and stuff, there's a woman behind me who I thought was gonna die. She was like, I would have looked and I would have been killed. I would have been, and I was like, man, where do you get that? It's
so good.
And it's the communal, that visceral, we're all in this together, right? Did that scare you? Yeah, it scared me too.
And we're losing that with everything being online now.
We really are. And the other thing, and what I love about Spielberg, especially in his some of the movies is and especially Jaws, it was scare you and then make you laugh. With a little chuckle. Scare you?
Yeah.
And then here's a little laugh here. And it was that off balance and the rest pause principle.
Yeah.
I just think Jaws is just such a great, fun movie.
That it makes me think the rest pause principle, the idea of basically what he's talking about is the idea that you would have like a very suspenseful, crazy, hardcore action or suspenseful, horrific moment, and then you have something to lighten it up. And often, you could go very extreme in that direction, or you can go kind of like lighter in each direction for the audience. But the interesting thing is that I feel like that's the thing that a lot of conservative films are missing, or films that try to push, are just made to solely push a message. But I think more than that is just this desire for pure exposition dumping, right? And I don't know if I can even consider some of these people filmmakers, or which I don't know if I should get too specific with the person. I don't know, but I'll be able to describe it, and you'll just the audience, and you'll know. But like a certain person in conservative movement will come out with a film, and it's basically an audiobook with stock footage and B-roll, and that's it. And I'll tell you, I was I'm still super hardcore conservative guy, but I was very politically focused in my like mid 20s. And even during that time, I'm watching this conservatively made film, and I'm bored out of my mind. I could not make it like past like the 36-minute mark because it's just exposition dumping.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's just the problem with anyone that sets out to do something in a movie. Or do something in a piece of in entertainment. It's like I don't believe in it. I think that it should be called something else, like a schnoogler or whatever, but it's not entertainment. And entertainment, especially when it comes to kids movies, there was a time there still is, or kids television, where it's like, this is going to educate the kids about the meaning of happiness, and or even Sesame Street, it is like the kids are going to learn values and love, and it was like, well, Sesame Street's been going around since 1970. How have we gone as a society? Are we better? Are we kinder? Are we gentler? And I don't believe that's. I think kids, toddlers, they need to be entertained as much as everybody else. Let the parents do the educating. Let the parents do all that stuff. I believe entertainment is just that. Entertainment. It's not political. It doesn't take a stand. It just is a thing.
Well, you can say that there are some films that have a message, but I think it's all in the execution and also in that the entertainment has to be a priority. It cannot be second place to what your message is. And I think when we have a message, it can't come second, third, fourth. It can't be something that is just hitting people in the head. And we can talk about this all the time, but in general, like I think just friends and I, like conservative movement and whatnot, but like take Passion of the Christ. Obviously, that has a message. There's another Catholic film made recently about that revolved around devil possession, which I found pretty fascinating. I don't know if it was Nefarious. Yeah. So like, which is fascinating because the cinematography on that was actually pretty good, and and I'm not just saying that by conservative standards. I felt it was a pretty, right. It was a rare thing for on the right, but I just think that there are ways to do it, but there is. And like we should be able to raise questions about things that are legitimately hurting people and legitimately like we care about and are concerned about. But how do we differentiate? How do we be able to get some sort of message out? And to what extent do we do that?
I just think it requires a very deft hand, like Passion of the Christ, which I only saw once because it was too like, oh my gosh, wow, that was powerful. Now, is there a message there, or is this, hey, this is the story of what happened, right?
Right.
So, message, I'm not sure, other than, hey, this is what happened. Pretty faithful to what happened. Nefarious, is there a message, or is that, hey, this is what so it's like
fascinating. You're saying storytelling versus message telling.
Yeah. It's just here's the thing. So yeah, I think that I just think it takes a really deft hand to even going back to movies like The Song of Bernadette or just something like that. Again, it's not trying to do anything other than say here's the story of The Song of Bernadette, or and especially religious films. That it's the ones done well are like, hey, here's a representation of what we think that is.
Well, and people might say that because of the story that they select, that reflects the values of the film.
I'm sure it does. Yeah. I mean, you can't separate the you can't always separate the storyteller from the story. But I do think that especially the best best storytellers are taking a neutral position on
they're being fair about it.
They're telling a story.
Yeah.
They're telling a story. They have villains and they have good people and they have bad people. And that's something else Hollywood has tried to do. Hollywood has tried to say, hey, that bad person, I wonder what caused that. You know, and that's a very popular thing now. It's like, let's take Cruella de Vil, who's a made-up character, and it was like, what made her such a mean puppy killer?
You're saying the sympathetic antagonist.
It's very bizarre. It's trying to deconstruct, and I think that, I don't know if that's story structure or it's you know, that there is no evil. There is only circumstances leading to evil. There is no bad. There's only, well, what caused that? And I saw that recently, or that sort of idea of there is really no bad person. It's just it was the milk that they had or something. And but I think Hollywood's very into that because I think Hollywood really has a hard time with evil.
I'm right now. In my head, I'm seeing an episode of Freakazoid where it's surrounding one of the villains, and it was just the fact that he had really bad milk.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make something with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, especially with Freakazoid, I think we're a bunch of different people. There were conservatives, there were liberals, but we all wanted to make a show. Like, Freakazoid has no message. It's a bunch of different people coming. Oh, well, you know, it's just what it is.
But you know what? Okay, there's some value here because, listen, there's plenty of things that I can make fun of on the right side of the aisle. Not necessarily conservative beliefs, but tendencies that exist in the conservative sphere, right? And even the left, like, obviously there's a lot of things that are funny to us as well. But, like, I think when you could just make fun of tendencies and behaviors on both sides, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because it's just true. Right. There's just so many things to make fun of.
Well, that used to be called comedy.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I mean, if you on YouTube, you can get some of the old Johnny Carsons, and you can see how he was just right down the middle. You know, a little bit here, a little bit over here, making fun of whatever. Man, do I long for those days of where it's just calling us all out on what's happening.
Well, there's a sense of a responsibility and accountability, right? That comedians have. It's like they're part of their civic duty to point out things that are absurd and actually like tell people, yeah, that's stupid or that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you have to have a lot of objectivity to do something like that. But you know, it's interesting you bring up that point about when you're talking about the films like the $20 million budget. I remember Rocky Balboa, the sixth Rocky film. I'm talking about franchises, right? Mm-hmm. But the sixth Rocky film, I think that was only $20 million budget because that's all they can get approved at that time. Right. They thought it was just dead. But going back to the first one, I think they did that on about $1 million. Mm-hmm. And Sylvester Stallone had to sell his own dog. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And it's just really fascinating to think about because it's like even back then, it was so much to take a risk on it. It's a lot of money, but you know, if we can get back to a point where we're willing to take risks on original ideas, original films, we'd be in a much interesting but better place, an area with a little bit more wide thought, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think that it's that, you know, look, I've seen some movies that just makes you want to kill yourself because it's so depressing or whatever, and that to me is that's some people's cup of tea. That's great, that's awesome. But give me a fun, entertaining, scary, spooky, interesting movie. And I think that's what, if people are going to cough up money to go to a theater, they want to be entertained. You know, God bless Tom Cruise, you know, for trying his best. And my wife and I went to see the latest Mission Impossible just because it was like, let's go, honey. I want to see it. And the movie, it starts with Tom Cruise talking to the audience going, hi, I'm Tom Cruise, and we really worked really hard on this movie, and we hope you enjoy it. And it was like, now here we go. And it cut, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Like, he's saying, hey, we made a movie for you. And I think they've forgotten all that. I think the art of entertaining has been forgotten.
What kind of film would you like to see made today?
Oh boy, a good science fiction movie, like one that's interesting and cool and scary, but not too scary, but really interesting. Has some laughs in it. You know, my favorite movie of all time is and this I'm going to tell you this, and it's going to go against everything I just said to you, but it was 2001, A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
because I saw it when I was 6 years old at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood with my parents, and it blew my mind. I was like, wow, what kind of movie is this? And my parents were like, wow, it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So a movie like that just totally captivates and takes you out of where you are and puts you in this new place. And those are sort of movies I love. So, but Indiana Jones done well. They've screwed up the last one because he can't be a hero anymore because he's too old and stupid.
Gosh, it's so hard to watch Harrison Ford trying to do that stuff.
Yeah. So, but movies that sort of capture the old spirit of movies, an adventure, done well, that doesn't have an attitude, not trying to tell you new, just entertain. Star Wars. I remember seeing that. I was like, what? This is the best thing ever. And I stood in line with my friends in high school. I think 2 consecutive weeks we stood in line to see it every day because it was like so cool.
Wow. Yeah. Where have we gone?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting because you talk about 2001: Space Odyssey, and it's like films like that are so good that they inspire massive other works of art in the filmmaking area, in cartoons, even in content that you've made, right? In Animaniacs, Freakazoid, you guys do a lot of spoofs of classics like that. But even another classic is, which a lot of people don't know about, it's like a cult classic, but Live Alive here, this game that has a poster right here that has one of the, I guess, the shorter, one of the stories in the game that you play, one of the chapters you play is in the future, and it's 100% inspired by 2001: Space Odyssey. So it's just amazing, and those are made by a bunch of Japanese dudes in the mid 90s, right? It was recently remastered, which is a different prospect when it comes to gaming than films, right? Because of the lack of technology at the time, or not having as much graphic clarity and whatnot. But it's just fascinating to see. It's so inspiring when you can see something that is so good that it affects and inspires, like a ripple effect across the whole world and country, right?
Yeah. And I'm a Kubrick nut. I think 2001, Barry Lyndon. I don't know if you've ever seen Barry Lyndon, but it's the longest, tedious, most beautiful movie. It's just gorgeous, they're re-releasing it, so you should be Barry Lyndon. And then The Shining. I remember the first time I saw Shining, I was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever." But the thing with Kubrick films is, then you look at it again and you go, "Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice." And then you see it again, and Kubrick stuff only gets more interesting and wow, I see that what he was trying to do, and Kubrick is, like, for me, amazing. Even Eyes Wide Shut was, I thought, in hindsight, a very pro-family movie in the weirdest way possible, but it's really about but yeah, Kubrick, I'm not worthy. I just think he's awesome.
Well, it's interesting.
Or was awesome.
It's interesting to think about too, because we also look at like when a film was made, how people were at the time, what they were exposed to. These are all factors that affect the editing, the direction of the film, and how it's shot and done. A lot of films today have a ton of shots, and a lot of handheld, a lot of shots that are just, sometimes they're just weird, like split seconds just to excite the viewer, which I think done in within reason is fine. But I also wonder how much things like doom scrolling and having social media and being subjected to such extreme, crazy content on a regular basis from our phones so often, how much has that desensitized us and affected filmmaking?
Oh, a lot, I think. I mean, for instance, if you were to take a group of people and say you have to take your phones there and we're all going to go watch Lawrence of Arabia and we have to go in this theater. First of all, I think everyone's pulse would begin to go down. And I don't know if you know Lawrence of Arabia, you've seen it, but it's gorgeous and it's amazing, and it's, again, just from sheer the shots and everything, it's an amazing story. But could someone make that sort of movie today? I don't know. I don't know whether people would stand for a 4-minute long journey through the desert of just an amazing shot of it. I'd love to have someone try, because I think that the whole, you remember when we went through that whole thing of the handheld and the like the Office sort of thing, and
Oh
the camera
gosh,
goes like
I
this,
cannot watch that show. I am sorry, I cannot watch that show. I get nauseous.
But that was a thing, right? And
Yep.
then pretty soon movies started doing that sort of thing. And I think that really it always goes down to, it's all a fad. Everything you see is he did it, and so she'll do it, and she'll do it, and she'll do it. It's those people that don't do that just make their movies, that don't base it off of someone else's idea. That's like Kubrick or Spielberg. Lucas certainly for Star Wars and stuff, but just made their own individual. Like when you think about when Star Wars came out, it was basically a Western in space.
Yeah.
No one said, "Oh, I think the demographic show, we want people in space that are firing at each other," and like there is no movies that succeed crazily well or become number ones were movies that no one saw coming. My agent used to say, when I would pitch stuff, or when they would say, "Hey, Paul, you have a meeting at DreamWorks or whatever," and I'll be like, "Okay, fine," and she would say, "Here's what they're buying. They're buying stories about small boys who go into the forest and they get turned into another." He's like, they were telling us, "This is what we're buying right now," rather than, "So what are you selling? What do you got? What do you got?" And it's just sort of that. They're all trying to follow. I even tell this to students that I've taught. It's like, don't just. It's the things that you least expect that are going to make a million, that are going to just wow people. I don't see Superman, anyone going, "Wah!" I see it doing fine, but I don't see anyone going, "Oh, man, I got to see that 3 million times."
When's the last time that you felt that?
When the last time I felt that? For a movie?
Yeah.
I think it's been a very long time.
Yeah, if you can't remember, I mean, that says it all, right?
The Martian.
The Martian.
The Martian. I think The Martian is masterful. I think it's fun, humorous, scary, and super like, what's he gonna do now? They don't make movies like that. Maybe this new one done by the same writer, which is why I'm super excited about it, or maybe it'll be garbage. I have no idea. But I don't know. There was a movie that came out that I really thought was really interesting, and I really liked, called Passengers. I don't know if you saw that. It was about they're in space and something goes wrong with the hibernation, and it was with I forget who it's with, but I found it a really interesting idea. And some movies I think are great, and then I watch it again and I go, man, it's kind of stupid. Like Arrival, I thought was, when I first saw it, I go, this is amazing. And then I watch it again and I go, I don't know, it's kind of dumb. But anyway, yeah.
It's fascinating to think about. And it's actually interesting because when I was a kid, I was obsessed. And you might, I don't know if you can tell it all with all the decorations, but I was huge in video games, particularly a lot of RPG story games that had stories to them. Mm-hmm. And that's actually what got me into filmmaking was, I enjoyed the stories more so than just the pure gameplay, right? Mm-hmm. The gameplay without any story. And and in a way, you look at what's become in the what these things have become in the video game industry today, and you have a ton of. I mean, I don't know so much today. You have a few examples, but you have particularly in the '90s. The '90s were just filled with some amazing creativity all around, which we're still discovering, right? Still mining out. But I got really fascinated with the whole idea of like the storytelling in a video game, because you get to portray that character. It's almost like it takes you a step further than just comparing yourself to that character consciously or subconsciously. You're actually controlling that character, and that character gets hit or collapses or whatever. You're feeling that, right? Or something happens to that character emotionally, based off a decision that you made. It almost brings like another element that brings you even closer to feeling with that character. That I think video games today have kind of, or within the past couple decades, have really benefited from that, while Hollywood has kind of been just doing remakes all the time, right?
Yeah. That's basically all Hollywood is now. It's a remake factory. It's a low risk. Yeah, that's basically all it is. And with the sameness of thought, and there's really no. And that's the thing with scripts. Scripts too. There was a guy that used to teach screenwriting named McGee, and it was about screenwriting theory. And
you're talking about Robert McKee?
Yeah. And he became the guy, right? And pretty soon, every story had the same arc, and it was the same thing. And this is on page 11. This is where your hero will. And it was like, maybe that was true for those moments, but. Every movie can't be the same movie. It can't be the same movie. In a comedy, the first two acts can't be hysterical, and then you all of a sudden have to tell the story in the third act, and falls apart. I am a rabid anti-traditionalist when it comes to storytelling. Whatever you got to do, but don't bore me.
So it's got to be entertaining, and that's the idea, right?
That's the idea. I don't care about your story structure. I mean, if you want to do it in a weird way, that's great. That's why Nolan sometimes is very interesting in his stuff. I didn't understand Tenet to save my life, but other people enjoyed it, and I'm proud of them. I thought it was interesting, but I'm like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But yeah, the story and that's what they're teaching in film schools now. It's like, here's what it is. By page 12, your hero's journey must begin, and this is where you establish your this and that and that. Yeah. And I just think that's a bunch of BS. I mean, maybe it's true, but gosh, maybe write something that's not that, or because that's what engages people, not something that is like where oh, here it comes, something bad's gonna happen, I just know it because it has to, because the movie has to keep going. Oh no, yeah, the dog got run over. I hate this part,
Yeah, no, it's interesting because because I'm working on a documentary myself, but it's in the style. It's I'll tell people because I've told a few people around me, but I'm working on a film about a walk I did across the United States in 2009, 2010. But I don't want to bore people because I did it to bring awareness to the dangers of massive government spending and government expansion by both parties. But I want to focus on the adventure of it. And so I'm going through this and I'm thinking, because I've tried to do cuts of it before, and it was just getting too much exposition, right? It was just like, I was just info dumping. I was trying to even virtue signal to some extent without me even realizing it. But now I'm completely changing my approach. I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to hear myself talk. I'm even debating with the idea of like never hearing an internal monologue. I mean, I might have to a few times, but because I'm like, you know what? Whatever makes it entertaining, right?
Yes.
And even if it's weird, and like I completely ended up like approaching my intro originally, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have like this big, grand, like kind of patriotic music, whatever. And then I realized, that's not how I felt though. That's not a proper interpretation of how I felt. And then I did a little keying on the piano, like the MIDI piano, and recorded a little bit. And in one shot, I don't know how this never happens, but I did it. I recorded something kind of ominous and unsettling in one shot, and I put it to the intro, and it worked perfectly to how I felt, and it entertains because you're like, what the heck is going on? And I think we just forget sometimes that we're supposed to entertain people first.
Yes, yeah,
right?
yeah, and By the way, that's more difficult than you think. Meaning,
Yes.
like, there is no, there is no formula. There is no magic rule that you can follow. Yes, there might be some ultimate structure that if you deconstruct 200 movies and you look at them, they all have this, but, whatever. But so what? Like, are you a creative person or not? Are you gonna follow a rule, or are you gonna do what in that moment? I have a great idea, so go ahead and do it. I mean, that's kind of how we wrote Freakazoid. It was like, I don't know, let's do this because it seems funny at the time.
Well, you guys got away with fourth wall breaking in such entertaining fashion.
Yeah.
That it just, to me, when I'm watching it, there were just so many. You can see your passion for the films that you guys loved and cherished in it, and had such a huge impact on culture, while at the same time you guys took risks that no one else were willing to take at that time.
Right. And we paid dearly for it, but we were canceled. But at the same time, I wouldn't change a thing. I think the last time I was here, I said I went on to do other things where they're like, no, here's how we do that here, and you need to do all these things, and I'd be like, oh man, I want to leave. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up here,
All right,
but
then.
we are going to have you back soon.
Yes.
So that we can actually do an official reading of a script that you wrote of if Freakazoid were to return,
Right.
what the episode what the episode would be.
Right.
So, tell us just a little bit about what you saw in taking a look at it, if you had a chance to.
It made me laugh. And then I looked at parts and I go, oh, they probably hated this part. This is why they didn't want to do it. But yeah, I mean, it didn't. It's just dumb. I mean, it's more dumb. It's a lot more of the dumb.
Well, that's what's entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
And Cosgrove is featured heavily in it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We gotta get and that's the thing is, would there be someone out there that can do an Ed Asner voice for?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, sure. Yeah. No, there are so many people in the voiceover community. Yeah, I guarantee there's someone that could do it dead on. But or at least his son. Or whatever, because I honestly am not sure you could ever say this is Sergeant Cosgrove. Just because knowing it was Ed doing Ed's thing is almost like too perfect. So,
yeah.
But to have his brother or his son, not that we did that, because when I wrote it, Ed was still alive. But yeah, I think. Oh, but there are so many talented people in the voiceover community. You'd be shocked. They would hit it to a T, and you'd never know.
It's incredible. Well, we're going to do that reading, and I just have to figure out how I'm going to film it, where I'm going to set up the cameras in this small room here. But once I do, we're going to do this reading, and, maybe it'll inspire some people with a few bucks to invest in it and make it happen, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, first we have to figure out the legal ramifications, but we're not going to worry about that.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? We're just doing a reading.
Right, we're just
something
doing a
you put together.
It's something I put together.
That's it.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for coming on again for the second time. Love you, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you, sir.